Hi, Graciela.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. My name is Graciela Gallegos, and I'm the Librarian 3 for Children's Services Department here in Los Angeles Public Library. I'm joined by my friend Jennifer Duarte, who's the Librarian 3 for the Benjamin Franklin branch. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's Your Author series featuring author, musician, educator Dr. Gloria Arjona. Today, Dr. Arjona will be discussing her work, The Story of Selena. Where am I? Oh, sorry. Selena Quintanilla. Please feel free to use the chat box to send in your questions and comments, and they'll be answered towards the end of the program. Also, don't forget to email us, and we're going to put it up on the screen. So ecdepart at lapo.org for your chance to be entered into an opportunity drawing to win your own copy of the story of Selena Quintanilla.
How exciting. I hope many of you participate and email us. So, yes, we want to also thank our generous donors, the Lenore S. and Bernard A. Greenberg Fund, as well as the Library Foundation, and our amazing behind the scenes staff for helping the library with bring these wonderful author and illustrator programs virtually. Thank you all so very much. We would also like to recognize and acknowledge the first people of the land. We recognize and acknowledge their elders, past and present, as well as their descendants. For more information on the territory you reside on, please visit native-land.ca.
So, as we mentioned already in today's Your Author program, Dr. Gloria Arjona will discuss her latest middle grade reader, The Story of Selena Quintanilla. Selena Quintanilla, hopefully you are all here because you know what a wonder she was. But she was the queen of Tejano music. And before she became a star, Selena was a charismatic young girl who loved singing and performing. She made a lot of sacrifices to become a famous musician, and her hard work really paid off as she became the first 15-year-old girl to win a Tejano Music Award and went on to break many records during her career. The Selena biography explores how she went from being a talented girl growing up in Texas to a fashion icon and a world famous singer. I also want to mention that Dr. Arjona not only writes excellent books, but she teaches Spanish at Caltech in Pasadena. And she's the author of other books such as Posadas, Unknown, Calaveras, and Lotería.
How
And
fun.
let's see. Where'd she go?
The big moment, the big
It's the
reveal.
reveal. Whoa, it's the
Yes.
suspense.
The suspense.
Yay, Dr. Arjona.
Nice to be here with you.
Welcome. It's so nice to have you
My
here.
pleasure.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Arjona. We really appreciate you taking the time and teaching us all about Selena, giving us the opportunity to learn about the creative process. And we really enjoyed reading your book, and I'm showing on this side. And we really hope a lot of people get the chance to read it. Is there anything you'd like to share with us today?
Well, yes, I have to share a lot. Okay, I have the book here also,
Yay.
and
Yes.
eh, I am excited because I admire as many of us, Selena. We were talking that she would be 50 years old now, but in the mind of the people, she will always be young, and that's the way we remember her. Still, she is an icon of resistance for children, very young children, and also for adults. So yes, I'm willing to talk about her and to talk about how I approach to her in my book.
Beautiful. Yes, Selena just brings up so many great memories musically, visually, her beautiful costume, everything about Selena. And so I'd like to ask you, we'd like to start off by asking, what made you write a book about Selena?
Okay, to be honest with you, I didn't decide to do it. It was a publishing house, Rackridge Publishing House, that approached to me because I am a Tejana too, and because they knew that I am an author, that I was an author, and I immediately didn't have any doubt on accepting writing about her, and it was really, really easy for me to. The difficult part was to decide what to write because this was a book for children. So, and I had to use a language directed toward children. One of the things the publishing house asked me is to not stress the killing, of course, because it was directed to children. So to stress her life, because it was a way to honor her life. So that's what I wanted to stress, and that's what I did in the book.
Yes, definitely. We read the book and you did a beautiful job magnifying all her accomplishments and her life. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, definitely.
I agree. I think it's a great introduction to people like our kids who may not be familiar with Selena. But what else? What do you hope that readers, like the kids, take away from this book?
I first of all, I would like to empower. I was looking to empower young children. It doesn't matter if he's he or she or they, but young children that in any way do not represent the dominant culture. So I wanted them to see reflected in Selena. We know that Selena was not only an icon for Chicanos or for Mexicanos, but also for women in general. We know that Lady Gaga, Selena was a role model for her because as a woman, she was incursionating in the music field, which is a predominantly male-oriented field. Okay, so that's what I aim in writing this book, like to 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 be used as a mirror of other people that usually do not see themselves reflected in this case in the TV. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I also thought it was really, you mentioned in the book how she didn't necessarily speak Spanish, but she could sing in Spanish. And my daughter, who's 10, she asked me, she's like, well, how come she didn't speak Spanish? And you made it a really good point. You talk about how her father didn't want her to learn Spanish because of the difficulties he had experienced when he was a child. So I think for some of our children now, they don't that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it's a good explanation. It's like, well, why?
Yes, 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 and we have to also remember that in the period that Abe in the book Abe
Mm-hmm.
Quintanilla, Selena's father, grew up, it was penalized for children to speak another language, mainly Spanish, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a language that in many ways was had been considered like a second class language. It was not the dominant language, okay, for many since the 19th century, since the war between the United States and Mexico. So, but I also want to point out to something when I was reading, because even if I wrote a very small book, you have to read a lot. I mean,
Yes.
it's not comparable what you read and the all the material that you have to consult to write a single paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not trying to scare youngsters to, but you need really, really to read a lot. So the first surprise that I got when I was reading about Selena is that I thought that her father was son of immigrants,
Mm-hmm.
and that was not the case. I went up to a fifth generation, and all the family of Selena, they not nobody was an immigrant.
Wow.
That was the first surprise. I say, oh my god! I was thinking, and ironically, she had to go into the Spanish market just because she was a Mexicana. Okay, so because she would be at she would entertain her people, the
Mm-hmm.
people that speak Spanish, without her speaking Spanish. So I mean, she really is a symbol that allows us as an American society to explore the prejudices that we have and how we determine the lives of children just because of their ethnicity.
Yes.
5 generations, nobody I mean, she had a few great grandparents that immigrated more in her father's side, but they were all from the border, Tamaulipas. And as I always say, and as taking the words of a Chicano writer, Selena's family didn't cross the border
Or
crossed.
across them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So that's, I mean, she is a clear sample of the history of many Tejanos, Tejanas, Mexicoamericanos, and other Hispanic people in the United States.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely. And so much has changed, but so much hasn't.
right.
And it's so surprising that Selena had these roots in Texas, in the United States, and
Yeah,
yet she wasn't welcomed in certain music
exactly,
sectors.
exactly. Just because, and there are some people, some Mexicans. We have the case of Linda Ronstadt, for example, who we admire, of course, we're proud that she, but because of her light skin and her last name, she didn't have any problem
To
uh,
pass.
singing in English. Nobody, it was, the surprise was when she came out. My
In
father,
Spanish.
when she published the book Canciones de mi Padre, that, oh, she's Mexican. We don't know. But Selena could not hide that
Mhm.
because her Mexicanness was reflected in her face. So really, Selena for me continues being a very unique, a very powerful uh, icon and role model that we need to explore from many points of views.
Yes. And just like Graciela was saying, that she wasn't necessarily taught Spanish or, made to practice it. Um, Today, this day and age, we see a lot of people celebrating diversity, language diversity, bilingualism, all of that. So I think some things are changing for the better. So that's really
Yes,
good.
yes, definitely, yes.
So, do you have any advice for our youth and for anyone wanting to become an author or illustrator?
Okay. I believe that I firmly believe that before writing, before becoming a writer, you need to be a reader.
Mhm.
Okay? If you don't read, I suppose that there are people that write because they have the talent, but the path that most of us who are not that talented will follow is to read a lot first. So the first thing, you need to be a good reader, and then later on, when you have a lot of information and when you have something to say, something new to say about, like in this case, Selena. In the book, I say a lot about her dressing, her jackets. Okay, her jacket, and I'm going to read a little bit about that because Selena took the attire, the suit of the mariachi, and she appropriated and she made it very feminine. Okay, so it's something that I believe, okay, I am paying attention to that because there is something always that you are looking after you have read a lot about a theme that you are interested. So that would be my advice. First, read, 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 and then writing will become a natural outcome of all the information that you have.
Yes. And I love that you mentioned that she took something that culturally was, in a little, kind of theme, right? But she
Yes,
took it and made it her own.
yes.
So that's great advice too.
Yes, yeah, because if you remember, and you can, those of you who are in your houses, okay, the mariachi suit is very, very masculine.
Mhm.
And then women like ranchero women, ranchero singers, they would use the feminine version, okay, would be like a china poblana skirt, a blouse, a very, very feminine. But Selena didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
She took the mariachi, the vaquero coat, and the bolero jacket. She made it her signature. Okay, she put a lot of she kept the ornaments that are used in the mariachi suit, and she made it very feminine and classy. I mean, I'm not saying, of course, the mariachi outfit is very, very classy. Okay, it's very, very ornamented, but I believe that she made it very modern, and the children, the little girls, started to follow her, because the little girls don't want to dress the way that their parents or grandparents dress. Oh, I mean, but when they saw Selena, oh, she's like she got these boosters, and then they started to get into this Mexican heritage way of dressing, or inspired at least in Mexican dress.
Yeah,
So
because
yes,
I was going to say, I think a lot of times she was known almost for her outfits almost as much as for her
yes,
music, right? She
yes,
was
her lipstick,
unapologetically feminine, and she
yes,
wore these bright colors, and it was wonderful because it was a very masculine, Tejano music is very masculine, but she
yes.
was like, nope.
Yeah.
And you know why she could do that? That's my point of view. Of
Why?
course, I didn't write that. Many things that we are talking, I didn't write in a book because the children don't care. No, but okay, her father had been very criticized, Abraham Quintanilla, because he was kind of dominant, very dominant. So he has been criticized by the media, and but I give some credit to him that Selena could be as sexy as she wanted, and as daring as she wanted, and still people would respect her, being
Hmm.
a very male oriented, because she had her father uh, taking care of her.
Yeah. Very
Because
much a
I mean,
family
if she
business.
had been by herself, she wouldn't not been that sexy and that free to do whatever she wanted, because she was a beautiful person, of course. And just imagine how many in a very, again, masculine, and unfortunately in a culture where women are objects. She was able to do and to move at ease because she had her father I'm sorry, taking care of her.
Well, I think you mentioned, Jen, not just her father. I mean, her whole family
Whole
was there,
family,
right,
literally the whole
supporting.
family, and for good and for bad. Of course, it must have been suffocating. She never had friends
Outside.
outside
Mm.
her work, because she was a breadwinner. She was a breadwinner of her household. People would come. She was Selena y los Dinos, but people would come to see Selena.
Selena.
That's why the first album, when she met this Cuban, what was it? Well, the person that helped him, now I cannot read, Jose Bejar, they say in English, okay? He was working for EMI, who was an important company that really supported Selena. When he started working with Selena, he said, the first thing we have to do is we are going to do an album, but we are going to advertise you as Selena, no as Selena y los Dinos. And she complained. She said, no, no, but my family is, he said, we know that, and your family will be there, and you will keep playing with your brother and sister. But if you see Michael Jackson, Madonna, they are announced just by their names, and we're going to do the same thing for you. Okay, so and it was that Selena started to
And she is just Selena, right? We don't even say
Yeah.
Selena Quintanilla. We say Selena.
No, Selena, exactly. No, because there is another Selena, without,
Exactly.
which is a consequence, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. There were
Yes.
many after Selena. There were many Selinas. Yeah. So
Well, since we've been talking about the book and we mentioned her outfits and stuff, I don't know. I think you wanted to share a little bit of your book with us, and I
yes,
think
of
I
course.
have a bit of. There we
Okay.
go.
Yes, that's chapter 4. And this is when Selena is already she has received um, awards as a performer and as an interpreter. She has received various awards. So it seems that her life is really, because after it was not always easy for them to succeed. It was until they decided to change the genre and to do Tejano music that they started to get better gigs. Okay, so right here, chapter 4, you can see that she has an award in her hands because she was around 15 years old and she started to receive many awards. So the next page. Okay, so I'm going to read here. Proving herself. Selena saw that the world of Tejano music was a man's world. Her dad explained that Tejano music was named after Mexican cowboys and other Mexican and Spanish settlers. They wouldn't think a girl like Selena could be a Tejano singer. But Selena and her dad knew that they were wrong. Selena knew that girls could do the same things anyone else did. Her sister Suzette was an example. She was a drummer, even though most drummers they knew were men. Selena would be a Tejana in her own way. She designed a traditional mariachi style jacket in a vibrant purple satin fabric, something nobody had done before. This jacket would become Selena's signature look. With Selena, Tejano music became fancy. Many Mexican American girls who never liked this music before came to Selena's concerts wearing flashy bolero jackets. Selena's popularity surprised some producers who thought that Tejano music could not be performed by women. There was only one well known Tejano woman singer, Laura Canales, known as the Queen of the Tejano Wave. Selena admired Laura. She never imagined that soon she would be the new Queen of Tejano. That day came at the 1986 Tejano Music Award when Selena was nominated Female Vocalist of the Year. Everybody thought that Laura would be the winner, not a 15-year-old girl. When Selena won, she was surprised. Selena realized that she was accomplishing something big, and she was right. Many more awards would come. A new band member. Selena y los Dinos perform in different cities every day. Roger, the guitar player, had recently married and had to quit the band in the middle of a tour. AB, AB was a brother, who was now responsible for writing Selena's songs and getting the band's gigs, panicked. They had a concert in just a few days. He searched for another guitar player all over San Antonio. Finally, he found a very skillful guitar player. His name was Chris Perez. Although Chris didn't normally play the music, he knew about Selena y los Dinos. He accepted AB's invitation to meet them the next day. When Chris arrived at the rehearsal, Abe was the father, didn't like his long hair. Selena thought that Chris was cute. They all agreed that he was a great guitar player. Chris became one of Los Dinos. And you can see before taking the map, I included in this book maps and also other resources because I wanted the active participation of the children. I always stress to my students, it doesn't matter if they are young or the ones that I teach are college students, that they have to be active readers. Okay, so right here, I included a map of the main places. You can see that there is Corpus Christi. Selena was born in Lake Jackson, which was in the north of Houston. But her career, she really did her career in Corpus Christi. And then San Antonio, we're talking about San Antonio because that's where they were touring, and that's where she met Chris Perez, who would become her husband. And then El Paso, Laredo, all these cities that now, in this period of their time, they were touring. So you make now take out the Steve. Okay, thank you. Otherwise, I continue because I love reading. Okay. Yeah. So as you can see, it's very clear, and I include timelines, maps, quotes, because she was very good for saying quotes. Okay, for herself. Okay, quotes are direct words of the person we are referring to. In this case, I include quotes by Selena.
I also like the glossary in the back too.
Yes, yeah, and every chapter I highlight the new words, the words that I don't expect that the readers will be familiar with Tejano or Mexican Texas culture. So that's why I put in bold, and then at the end there is a glossary.
I was reading when you were reading and you were talking about the Tejano music. I do remember thinking that before Selena, to me, Tejano music was just kind of something my dad listened to. It
Yes.
wasn't I a lot of the ranchera Tejano. I grew up with all of that stuff, but it was my dad's music. But Selena was the one that it was like, oh wait, it's a girl, and I like this music. So that was great.
Yes, well, something I want to highlight, and this I talk more when I am doing lectures, okay, not necessarily in the book, because again, the book is for children. So
Hmm.
the language is a very controlled language, and I cannot give like a many ideas, no? But something I wanted to highlight also, I forgot already what I was going to say that you mentioned about. Oh, I think I forgot, but I will remember.
It's okay because you know what, I was testing myself, and I think some of our colleagues and friends with the quiz, the questions that you have.
Quiz at the
Oh,
end.
So we're trying to figure out who's the biggest Selena fan. So
I know what I was going to say. Okay, when you were talking, Graciela, you know why you like the music of Selena, and many more people that didn't like necessarily the music of your friends, because she added Tejano music was mostly before Selena and before other groups like Grupo Más, and there were other bands contemporary of Selena, but just male
Hmm.
bands. Okay, Selena was the only woman. And we need to give credit to A.B., the brother, because he was the composer of the lyricist of most of Selena's songs. But before them, most Tejano music was like a polka, corridos. What did Selena y los Dinos do? They included cumbia. And that might be very simple, but by doing that, they extended their audience, because now people from the Caribbean, from Colombia, from other places, they would feel attracted to Selena's music just because doing that, because they included cumbia, salsa, blues, because Selena was a very versatile singer. And something we need to remember, and I write in the book, she was self-taught. Nobody, she didn't take classes. She was not a privileged child. She didn't go to her violin classes or her piano. Very good for those who can provide that for their children. I mean, that's very smart. I wish I would have received that education. She never had the everything that she learned was from her father, and later on, just her steps, her cumbia steps. She used to practice them. Okay, so she was really self-taught. Amazing, no?
It
Really
is.
Amazing,
amazing.
inspiring, and she just gave it her own unique twist of
Yes,
like dance moves from
yes.
makeup to hair, accessories, clothes. I mean, you name it. Selena put her own individual stamp on things. So it's beautiful. So we would like to know any current authors or illustrators that you find inspiring.
Eh, those questions are very hard for me because it really depends on the period of my life. Like right now, since I have to drive many long distances, and after the pandemic, one positive thing about the pandemic is that we have these great programs like the one we are doing that we know that people will listen out their own pace, of their own
Mhm.
convenience. Okay, that's something positive that we got from the pandemic. So what I do is I listen a lot of historians from Mexico, mainly Mexico City. That's even though I was born in El Paso, Texas, I grew up in Mexico City. So I like Taibo and many writers that I love. I listen to them, okay? Because I am always writing about history mainly. I am rewriting right now. I am rewriting my thesis. My thesis was in another great woman, which was La Malinche, the
Ah,
indigenous interpreter of Spanish conquistador Cortés. So I have a lot of information about her. So I am uh, rewriting my thesis. Okay, so right now I am rereading and listening programs of historians mainly. But one of the writers that inspire me a lot, a woman, a Chicano writer, is Gloria Arjona. I mean, I like her simplicity of her and her honest. She's so honest when writing. She's not like a want to add big words, and she's so clear and so poetic. So it's a writer that I definitely admire always and enjoy reading her.
I love that. I love that you say that. It's true. Our author, our taste in reading, it changes with the seasons of life, right? Like sometimes you're, I don't know, reading a book about parenting, and sometimes you're reading a book about history and all that kind of beautiful stuff. That
Yes, 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 because we are not like a flat, hopefully.
right.
No, I mean, we change, and sometimes and that's valid. That doesn't mean that you are not serious about a thing or a subject. No, it's just that one moment you are into this, and sometimes you are into cooking, and because we are like that, no? And more
Right.
reading than we are multitask. No,
Multitasking, multi-reading.
multi-reading, yes.
Do you usually listen to audiobooks or do you read physical, you know?
I like both. I like both. I like sometimes. Yeah, you get tired of the screen. That's true. Okay, so
Yes.
sometimes you want to just sit, and you get tired of being sitting vertical. So sometimes you want just to sit in a sofa and read and enjoy a book. Okay. I enjoy more like if it's like a fiction, I enjoy more like a physical book. For me, it has like a something closer.
Yes.
yeah.
It is something that I have to be more active and underlining. I find very convenient the tools we have in internet, and sometimes I am writing at the same time. So it really depends the kind of reading that you are doing.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you're rewriting your thesis, and now I'm intrigued because my lynch is always intriguing to me. But
Yes.
what's something that you wish you knew when you first started your whole, like your first book, or your writing, or even when you first wrote your thesis?
Yeah,
How has your process changed?
Yeah, well, hopefully it has changed. When you are a graduate student, when you are a student, you feel insecure. So
Yes.
you have to, you feel like you have to write everything and you have to read everything, and your ideas are not important, but the ideas of others, of the most important readers and writers mainly. So one mistake I did, I am not the only one. All the graduate students, or most graduate students, do it. Is like I wanted to write everything about La Malinche, everything. So and then when you have a lot of information, when you want to write everything, you lack really something that you want to stress, a particularity, and something that you can contribute on. We need to narrow really. The teachers keep telling us always that, okay? But it's until you start writing, you really need to narrow the subject. So that would be my advice also to those. I suppose I do not draw. I like drawing, and I say that I'm leaving that skill for my elderly days. Okay, when I don't have any more ideas, probably I will devote more to painting and because I like it, but it's something that I have not explored. And I want to recognize in this book, you agree that the artwork is beautiful, okay?
Mhm.
And the artwork was made by a Colombian artist. Let me see her name, Juanita
Londoño.
Londoño. Juanita Londoño. I like her illustrations really a lot, a lot. She is like she captured
Yeah.
to my taste, Selena's, and I told them, but this is hard. I say, well, maybe her face, Selena's face, should be a little bit more rounded. I told them, but they can say, she says that because she has a round face. No, because to be a little bit
Hmm.
fine. But in general, I think that she captured very well because it's hard. I mean, you are really uh, drawing and highlighting the beauty of a Chicana that up to this point was not very common. So we have to really highlight the fact that Selena's beauty would not follow the beauty of most artists. And I'm thinking now in the Mexican television, because as I said before, I grew up in Mexico City. The beauty in the Mexican television is just blonde and blue eyes.
Very one-dimensional.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Blonde, blue eyes, and it doesn't matter that's the beauty they want to promote. Okay, if you are dark skin, and then you can be the servant. Pretty much what happens
The
in Hollywood,
novelas.
right? Everywhere.
I
So
was
I
thinking
think
the
that
same thing.
Novela.
Yeah.
yeah,
The only time you see a darker skinned person, especially in Mexican movies or telenovelas, is it's La Criada.
yes, exactly, or the rateritos. I mean, the ones that, those are the ones, el chofer. Okay,
Yeah.
not the main characters.
Yeah.
And look at there on page 50. You'll see a picture of Selena. There's
Yes,
the actual picture of Selena.
yeah, it's a picture. They were very nice,
It was beautiful.
this
Yeah.
publishing house,
Very
because
beautiful.
let me tell you something, audience. It's very hard to get permission to
Mm,
write something about Selena and to publish something about. Very, very hard.
Her
I'm
family
sure.
doesn't give permission.
It's complicated. It's complicated. Abraham Quintanilla, he has control of everything as far as I know, and with good reasons. Okay, because let me tell you what happened when Selena was killed. The next day, they were selling T-shirts of Selena dead.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, those things that the people they were. So he really
Always.
got upset because he said, "I wanted to have a nice memory of my daughter, and now I will have Selena in her coffin because they were selling those T-shirts. People would do everything to earn, and I understand it's hard to make a living, but he really became a guardian of everything that belongs to Selena because he had that problem immediately.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So for the people really of this publishing house to have, they say, okay, we are going to include some real pictures of Selena. We're going to ask and pay the royalties, and I suppose they are expensive. Okay, so they did everything as it should be. Okay, because everything is controlled by
Yeah.
the family.
Well,
Oh,
we're
I
so
think
happy you got the permission.
I was gonna say I think Steve has the picture to show us on the bigger screen. There she
Okay,
is.
there is, yes.
Yay, thank
Yeah.
you for
And
showing that.
Steve, since
Sure.
you're on, can you show us the quiz that Jen mentioned earlier?
Okay.
So who was, yeah, Selena. That's, I think that's great for students. I mean,
Uh-huh.
because a lot of the times I think as librarians or you're an educator, we're
Yes.
always talk about reading, but also making sure that the kids got the comprehension.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and as I say, you can see the previous page. It says, because of course you don't want to make the children feel bad. It says, now that you know so much about Selena's life and work, let's test your new knowledge in a little who, what, when, where, why, and how quiz. Feel free to look back in the text to find the answers if you need to, but try to remember first. So, yes, we need to demand some effort and some memorization from the children because they are not objects. I mean, we are hoping that everything that we learn will elicit ideas and adventures in there. It's so important. It's so important that children develop their imagination and their hopes, and that can travel. Many of the children probably who are going to read this book, or to whom people are going to read this book, they have never traveled or gone anywhere. But the books, that's the advantage of the books, that we can travel in our in our heads without leaving our spaces.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, even as an adult, I can read the Selena book and learn so much. That's
Yes.
a lot of the nonfiction books too. I learn a lot. And I love that you added the map because a lot of kids are really, really fascinated with maps. And they're always looking for the atlases, the map section in the library. So I think it's just
No, and I think for us too. I am very, I always blame my geography teacher, okay? But I really didn't have either interest, or I didn't have a good geography teacher. But sometimes I don't know where are the places. So I like to see. I like to see, okay,
Mm-hmm,
where was she born? Where is the border?
mm-hmm.
As you can see, I don't know if well, I don't want
Do you have it, Steve?
to pressure Steve, but those
I
of
think he has it.
those
he's
of you
ready. Oh, there he is.
I start with everything. Okay, everything that if I mention Puerto Rico, I mention the Caribbean because, as I said before, Selena y los Dinos, they started to experiment with other Latin beats. Okay, mainly cumbia, salsa. So people in Puerto Rico and in Colombia and other places, they uh, they became interested in the music of Selena.
Mm.
I don't think they would have been interested in Selena y los music, in Selena y los Dinos music, if it had been only polka and corrido, because maybe that's has a meaning for us, those of us who have any influence with the culture of the border. Okay, or in Mexico also the corrido is popular all over Mexico, because corrido is kind of monotonous. Because the importance of the corrido are the stories.
Yes.
It's not like tan 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 tan. And
And a lot of times it's things passed down,
Yes.
generations listening to the
exactly,
same corridos. But
yes.
I really liked how you added the maps in purple
Mhm.
too. I noticed that with the
Oh,
Selena's color, right?
that was the artist I have to recognize. Okay,
That's very, very pretty.
yeah,
Very,
it
very
was
nice touch.
really one of her favorite colors, no, purple color.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Another thing that I added, let me see, that you might find interesting. Well, the timelines, so
Mm-hmm.
people have an idea, okay? And also this jump in the think tank. So those are, if you see all over the book, there are jump in the think tank, and those are like a pauses, right?
Mm-hmm.
To okay, let's stop here, and let's see,
Okay.
children, are you connecting? Are you
Right.
connecting with what I? So I say, for example, what do you think a high school diploma was so important for Selena? This is something I want to highlight. Selena had to stop going to school because she was working, and as I said before, she was a breadwinner. Okay, she was working as an adult. Okay, and she had some problems and mainly Abe had problems with some teachers in middle high school because they were complaining that Selena would miss class, let's say like on Fridays and probably on Mondays because during the weekends she had gigs, okay? And but her grades, she never got behind her grades. She was hardworking. I'm not trying to idealize her, but she was really, really hardworking. In fact, she was not like a she was talented, but she was not Michael Jackson. I mean, because there are some children that are like, wow,
Right.
Selena was talented, definitely. But she was talented to a certain degree. She was hardworking. She was hardworking. So after this problem that from grade 8, I believe, she did home school and she finished her high school. It was important for her to finish her high school. Okay. She did it by correspondence because there was not even email or anything. It was writing and then sending the letter, and she did it and she finished and she graduated.
Yeah, I really like those because yeah, they make you stop and think. And you're so, I mean, you're an educator. You know, these are the things that we ask of the kids too to make these connections to what they're reading. So that's a really great way to encourage that.
Yes, yeah, yeah, to relate. Why is she important? Okay, why was important for Selena? Why I ask that to the children. Why was important? Okay, I say, how can a diploma change a person's life? So
Right.
first I applied for related to Selena. And then why? Why is important? Because of course we are aiming that this information changes or gives more opportunity to the children we are reading to. I believe there are some questions from the audience, but it's up to you whenever you want to ask. I'm not sure if there are some
Hmm.
questions I read over. You know, it's kind of hard to be reading at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I really, really would like to know how your fans can contact you and through social
I
media,
am not Selena.
email.
I
We
will
want to
make
get
a
in
club of
contact with you, Dr. Arjona.
thank you for okay. I am all over the place. I am in Facebook, Gloria Arjona. Arjona is my husband's. I thank you very much, Steve. It's over there. Gloria Arjona. I have a website. Arjona is my husband's last name, and I deliberately kept that name because that's not very common, and just because there is a reference of Ricardo Arjona, so they keep
Mm-hmm.
asking me if I am related to him, and that makes me feel very important.
Yes.
Yes, I am in Facebook under Gloria Arjona, and I have my website. I am in Twitter, and I am in Instagram under Música y Cultura.
Lovely. So lots
Got
of
it
ways to get in
covered.
contact.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now I think this is the exciting part that we do with a lot of authors, illustrators. We're going to ask you rapid fire questions and just answer whatever comes to mind. Don't think about it too much. Just
Okay, I
let
want to because
okay.
other
It's fun.
things I
It's
want
fun.
to
Okay, let's just learn a little
because
bit
I would
about
say
it.
depends on.
Yes, no pressure. Just
Okay.
here, with us and everybody else. So, singing or writing?
Singing,
Ah, café o té?
cafe.
Mm, gotta agree there. Yes. Music when you're working or quiet when working?
Quiet.
Day or night?
Day.
Vacation or staycation?
Staycation. I didn't know the word, but I like it.
Summer or winter?
Winter
Winter.
is
Now
my
this
best.
one. Frida Kahlo or Maria Felix?
Frida Kahlo, Maria Felix. I am not a fan of Maria Felix.
Oh, and I think
So
we
you
got
are a fan of Frida Kahlo.
Oh, you're a fan of well, yeah, I definitely have more admiration
I think we do
to
have
Frida Kahlo.
a
Yeah.
question in the chat. Let's see.
Okay.
Oops. Do you think the dialogue in children's books should reflect how young people actually speak today?
I again, it depends on the book. A book like this, yes, because if we want children, we're talking about an icon that eh, children can identify with. Okay, so we're talking about identity issues. So in this case, I would definitely say that dialogue, language. In fact, the language I really was lucky to be working with the people. They were girls like you, young like you, in Rock Ridge Press, because they were taking care of the language, okay? Of the language that is not too elevated for children. Now, I believe that we need to include a few words to make it more because we want to enrich the
Mhm.
language of the children, but we have to do it in a very gradually, gradually. Okay, so it's not, otherwise children, if they somebody reads a book for children and they don't understand, they will think that they don't like literature, that literature is not for them, or that literature is boring, and they will think of that they are not at the same level. So definitely, I believe. Thank you for that question. I believe that is important to use the language that the children feel comfortable with.
Makes sense. I don't know if we have any more in the chat. Any more? You have any questions? You have a couple minutes, and otherwise,
Yes.
Well, if you have questions, please feel free.
we gave all the contact information too.
I
You can always
know you
just
can
hit
reach
up.
out. No, definitely. This has been just a fascinating chat all about Selena, and we hope to see more work from you and see what we're very interested to see what your next project is. Do you have any plans?
Yes, as I said before, I am writing a book on my thesis on La Malinche, and I want to do because I like this experience. This is the first book for children I did, and I like the experience, and I like going to libraries and read for children. And I was telling you before the program that I had this experience in a library that the children were very young, and first I panicked because I said, well, they would be able to understand anything because they were like at 3 years old. But then I used one of Selena's song, and I made them stand up and dance, and even some cumbia steps. Okay, and because I wanted to leave some idea of what Selena did in their minds, okay, in their little minds. So whenever I can, I include music, and more. Of course, I never expect that I sing like Selena because she was very good. She developed a great musicianship, as I said before. You can see that I am not inventing. You can see her videos when she is very young and she's singing feelings, because that's she started singing in English and she was 7 or 8 years old, and you can see she was um, very good pitch and rhythm and everything, but nothing spectacular. But of course, you see the last videos, and she developed a way of singing and dancing at the same time. I don't know how she could do that, because I have seen singers and dancers that singers that sing and then dance. And Selena, if you notice, she would be singing and dancing at the same time without getting tired. So she had a great condition.
A lot of
Yeah.
stamina. And just, I have to say that Selena's aesthetic and her legacy lives on today. You see the youth of today, still
Yes.
trying to look like that same Selena look, Selena makeup, hoops, everything. So Selena lives in many of our hearts today. So,
Yes.
This,
Yes.
yeah.
thank you so much, Doctor, for speaking with us today. This was so much fun, right,
Yes.
Jenna?
Yes.
I had a great time, and I hope you come back and you talk
Oh,
about Selena.
anytime.
And
Anytime.
you're welcome to do that. So thank you all for joining us today. We hoped you enjoyed this conversation with author Dr. Gloria Arjona. Remember to visit lapl.org/events to see more of our amazing programs. And with that, our next author, your author, is set for November 18th at 4 p.m. when the Los Angeles Public Library, in collaboration with the Japanese American National Museum, is proud to present authors Elizabeth Partridge and Lauren Tamaki as they discuss their latest work of nonfiction, Seen and Unseen, what Dorothea Lange, Toyo Miyataki, and Ansel Adams' photographs reveal about the Japanese American incarceration. Moderating this program will be Dr. Kristen Hayashi, Director of Collections Access and Management at the Japanese American Museum. And Seen and Unseen features powerful images of the Japanese American incarceration captured by three photographers, Dorothea Lange, Toyo Miyataki, and Ansel Adams, along with firsthand accounts of the great grave moment in history. As always, those attending this virtual program will have the opportunity to win a free book.
Sorry, Jen, I think they just updated the date for that program. It's actually November 4th.
Oh, perfect.
They've just updated it.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I just saw it pop up in the change, but otherwise, where are we? So we also want to mention that there will be an upcoming bilingual story time on Thursday, November 3rd, right here on the LAPO YouTube channel, and you can always join us most Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. Also on the YouTube channel, we have story times for young children, so you can always check us out there. Thank you. So on November 3rd, you'll be virtually joining the three señoritas, Patty, Celia, and Diane, with the Dodger landscape team in the Dia de los Muertos bilingual story time. So thank you all for joining us. And until next time, we really appreciate all your support. The success of all of our library programs could not happen without viewers like you. So thank you. Spread the word to those that couldn't make it and watch us live and watch us multiple times over the weekend. Thank you, everybody.